but what do heart disease and cancer have to do with the immune system?
Okay, so yeah, that's a great question. So, cancer, tumor cells are formed over time. The thing is, that only happens when our immune system doesn't recognize that is happening. And that is a problem. So you could sort of see the immune system is impaired in one way or another, and the tumor cells can form and it's not detected by the immune system. So there's a major connection there with cancer. Heart disease or cardiovascular disease, on the other hand, is slightly different because there is a lot of evidence that inflammation plays a very big part in the development of heart disease. And the interesting thing about that is inflammation is actually, in ways, it can overactivate the immune system.
Sorry for interrupting. So inflammation is one of the reasons. So inflammation has to do something with cancer, or like I'm a little lost there. Can you give me a bit more about inflammation? Like how is that relating like to heart disease and cancer?
Okay, so you should see inflammation like this. Okay, so when a virus invades your body, whether it's a SARS-CoV-2 virus that causes a COVID-19 infection, a flu virus, or a cold virus, basically it's all the same thing. The virus tries to attach itself to the cells in your airways, for example, and your immune system, which uses white blood cells and immune cells, it's the same thing, to basically target the viruses and get it out of the body. In response, when that happens, when white blood cells get active, an infection occurs because it's fighting the virus, the intruders. Then your body temperature rises as a result. So that is an acute infection. And an acute infection is very important because without that infection, actually, we would die because the virus will continue to multiply, cause havoc, and basically we just end our lives. So that infection is basically an acute inflammatory response. Mm-hmm. Now, that is acute.
Okay, so let's say a person gets a pimple or a zit, right? Does that constitute inflammation particularly, or?
Okay, so I'm not a pimple expert, but I do know, and I've had them before. You have those night white ones, and when you pop them, like
pus comes out.
Yeah, a lot of pus comes out. So actually, the pus is a nice example because pus is basically just a bunch of white blood cells. And that is actually an infection. And yeah, so that's basically acute inflammation if you look at it like that.
Did you hear about Dr. Pimple Popper?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
She's very, very famous about it. And all she does is pop pimples.
Exactly, yeah.
So pretty much she's popping white blood cells then?
Yes, well, she pops a whole lot more, I've seen, because I've seen some footage of her, yeah. But that's part of it, yeah. If there's an infection going on under the skin and you have pus, that's white blood cells, that's an infection, that's acute inflammation.
Right, okay, I see.
Listen to the entire episode of the Immunity Podcast.
Link in the description below.